All right. Football weekend is getting ready to come up. Lions will be taking on the Denver Broncos. We got a full slate going on. TJ Lang will be joining me at around 3 o'clock today. We got the Prop Bet Casino. We got the picks. We got Who Said It. It is going to be a fun show for today. Plus, heck, we may even start looking around to see where Ben Johnson is going to go, because if you watched last night's game, and I don't know why you stuck around to the very end, but yeah. I think one team has their coach for the future, and another team is now looking for a coach. When you're down 42-0 at halftime, I don't know how Amazon was even going to get people to watch that second half. But Lions getting ready to take on the Denver Broncos. I got a simple question for you, Detroit. For all you Lions fans out there, this is going to be a little bit of a choose-your-own adventure. They got 4 games left. Now, some people think that this is just merely a speed bump. This team's going to bounce back. This team's going to be ready for the playoffs, and they're going to go as far as Jared Goff will take them. Some are not feeling that same way. So the question I asked you is this. How does this team finish the final 4 games? What's the record going to be? If you're telling me that Dallas is an auto loss, and I do think that Dallas is an auto loss. I think no matter what, Dallas is just playing really good football. It's at Dallas. I don't think you're going to win that game. How does this team finish? 1-3, 2-2, or 3-1? 1 victory, 2 victories, or 3 victories in their final 3 games. I'm setting the mark right now. They're 2-2. I was always leery about playing the Vikings 2 times in 3 weeks. But now I'm thinking I may move that. I'm not confident in what the Denver Broncos are coming into Detroit with. Broncos are desperate. Broncos need a playoff win. They're outside the playoff looking in. Lions offense is sputtering right now, to say the least. Plus, Dan Campbell going up against his mentor. I think this is the dangerous combination. But I do think that you finish with a 2-2 record. So I'm asking you, 248-539-9797. What's the final 4 games? What's the outcome? Or you may be thinking, we could beat Dallas. Cowboys you're not afraid of, and that this team could go 4-0. But I am interested to hear how you feel, because I look at this, I don't feel confident about tomorrow. I just don't. It's not to say that this is a bad team, but I look at Russell Wilson doing enough. He's enough of a mobile QB, and you guys know, if you listen to this show, I'm a big fan of. I don't think that the Lions handle that mobile QB well. Goff's been turning the ball over way too much for me. The good news, the game's in a dome, but this Denver defense, I don't understand why they're so good. They got some lockdown corners. You're averaging way too many turnovers. Your third quarters are just bad. This looks like another recipe for another loss for me. 248-539-9797. I see 2-2 to finish out this year. Final 4 games. What do you think it's going to be? I got Dallas. I got Denver. You'll sweep the Vikings. Vikings don't know who they have at quarterback. Vikings don't know what they want to do. I think you can get both of those games, which is good, because that means you're going to lock up the division. You win those 2 games, you're going to have to worry about anybody sneaking up and taking anything from you. On the flip side, you go out there and you win this game tomorrow, and certain things happen, and guess what? You've already locked up the division. But how does this team finish out the final 4 games? Is it optimistic? Is it gloom and doom? Is it 4-0, 3-1, 2-2, 1-3, or is somebody brave enough to say they don't win another game this year? Anybody who says that, you're just a flat-out hater. I mean, you're going to win another game. But I got 2-2 right now. The Dallas game, I think everybody can agree with me. That's the one that probably not going to win. But I'm not optimistic about tomorrow night's game. I mean, it's great to see the Lions back on in prime time, but that's something that I need to see. 248-539-9797. Your ticket, text, and your phone calls. David, what you got?
I'm looking at the schedule, and I already have them losing to the Dallas Cowboys.
I think
already
everybody
thought that
does.
before the season or as the schedule came out. I looked at a Dallas loss there. I don't believe in Minnesota right now. I mean, Nick Mullins. I don't need to see Nick Mullins again to know who Nick Mullins is. We know who he is.
And that's what changed for me.
Yes.
Was the Nick Mullins. Because when I thought it was going to be Josh Dobbs, okay, you know what? He's weird. He's quirky. He's new. He could do just enough to upset the apple cart. He was a scrambler. He was just lucky. His luck ran out. Nick Mullins, I see no fear, and I think you should be able to beat Nick Mullins twice. 3 times if you play him in the playoffs.
If they still get there, yes. So I'm counting the Minnesota games as victories. So that's at least 2. It's the Denver game that I'm iffy on right now. The Lions haven't looked good in the last couple weeks. This would be a horrible time for back-to-back losses. But I just believe being at home gives them the edge. So I'm going to go with the Lions being 3-1 to close out the season.
See, I think that it would give them the edge, David. The crowd always brings it, but they've already lost 2 games at home, so they're not invincible. And I just the tipping point for me in this game, and we're going to talk to TJ Lang about this in the 3 o'clock hour, is Dan Campbell going up against Sean Payton. When Dan Campbell first got this job, everybody remembers the biting the kneecaps line, and everybody remembers all that weird stuff. But Dan Campbell gave Sean Payton so many compliments, and he gave him his flowers that day. That's where he learned everything from. And it's always that weird relationship when you're going up against your mentor where, are you going to try to do too much? Does this game become personal for Dan? And I just think that this is a game that the Broncos have the coaching advantage. I think this is a game where you're going to see too much Dan gamble, that he's going to try to come up with some play just to look over at the sideline and be like, see, you never taught me that. And Peyton's going to be like, yeah, but I knew you were going to do that. When you go up against your mentor, it's really never this great thing. The mentor normally wins, more so in college. I mean, especially like when you look at like Nick Saban. All of his assistants go up against him. Other than Jimbo, it's an utter disaster. Kirby got one. Now, it was for a national title.
It was a big one.
It was a big one. It was for a national title, but that wasn't a full complement of players that Nick Saban had either. J-Mo, if you remember, was not playing in that game. That's the tipping point for me, is the fact that of all the coaches, this the guy that taught Dan Campbell everything that he knows. This is the guy that Dan Campbell compliments all the time and says if it wasn't for him, he wouldn't be here. I wonder if this game becomes personal for him. And even if he tries to say it's not, it is. Because whenever you go up against, it's like when you're going someplace, David, and you know your ex-girlfriend is going to be there, you want to look a little better.
Yeah, you dress a little differently.
You dress a little different. You want to smell a little bit better. You got to go out and get some new shoes. You got to make sure you win that night. Okay? And then you act like it's no big deal. No. I always dress this way. Is that new cologne? Nah, same old stuff. That's just Ivory soap.
This wasn't a week for the haircut, but I'm getting a haircut.
Right. Didn't you just get your haircut 3 days ago? Don't worry about it. I think the same's going to be for this, where Dan's going to try to come in here to show I need to win this game, but I think Sean Payton will have the coaching advantage in this game. And I feel a little bit more comfortable right now with Russ over Jared Goff. I wouldn't have said that. I can't believe I'm saying these words. At the beginning of the year, no. Right now, yeah, I do feel more comfortable with Russell Wilson than Jared Goff. Russ will do whatever it takes. Goff, when he tries to ad-lib, that's when the disaster happens. 248-539-9797. Choose your own adventure. How does this season end for the Lions? How many games do they win out of the next 4? 248-539-9797. I see your phone calls. We got your ticket text. We'll get to all of those next. 97.1.